Hi, I'm Sally and I applied for Japan's Digital Nomad Visa and was turned away twice at the consulate. This process is way less straightforward than they tell you online. Let me tell you exactly what to expect before you try. And if you're new here, I'm a travel advisor who specializes in helping people with chronic illness plan safe and accessible trips. I'm living in Japan right now and I wanted to share my experience applying for this digital nomad visa so that you don't get blindsided like I did. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through exactly the process that I went through, showing you the information that I looked up online, the websites that I went to, the YouTube videos that I went to for advice, and then my process first attempting to apply at the New York Embassy and then ultimately applying at the Houston consulate for the digital nomad visa, where I was ultimately successful and am now here in Japan. So I'm also going to tell you about the PDF materials that I came across online that I utilized in the process, the ones that were useful and the ones that were not so useful. So if you're interested in living and working in Japan as a digital nomad and applying for the digital nomad visa, this video is definitely for you so that you can reduce your level of stress in the process. I hope that you enjoy. Okay, so what is Japan's digital nomad visa? Let's ask Google. And it tells us it's for citizens of certain countries, including where I'm from. It's for 6 months and can't be extended. You can only work remotely for countries outside of Japan, and you have a certain income and health insurance requirements, and it's not a pathway to residency, and you can't have a Japanese bank account or a long-term lease. So let's take a look at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website to see the absolute specifics. It's a 6-month visa with no extensions, and it's for people wishing to work remotely in Japan. And here is the instructions on what you need to apply, various forms and documents, and then some information if you have a partner or children with you. Some crucial information here about the documents to prove your income: tax payment certificate, income certificate, employment contract, contract with a business partner. Now note it does not say bank statements, and that will be pertinent later. Now it also says here if a certificate of eligibility is present, then you don't need the documents below. So what on earth is a certificate of eligibility? Okay, that's not the right one. Let's try for Japan visa. So it tells us this is something that an employer would apply for on your behalf in Japan. And this is the confusing thing about these digital nomad visas, because they talk at great length about certificate of eligibility when we work for a remote company, so that's never going to be a company in Japan because that's against the rules of the visa, and B, we can't apply for that in America. So then I went to YouTube and typed in digital nomad visa. First of all, you just get lots of videos about what people think about the digital nomad visa. Is it a good deal? Is it worth it? Obviously, that's not relevant to the application process. So then I typed how to apply. And I did come to this helpful video, which I did watch extensively. So you can see here the person talks you through the whole process of applying for a digital nomad visa. So I thought, great, let me watch that. And they also refer a great deal to this PDF that they have created, which you can download for a small amount of money. So ultimately, I went to the comment section and found the link for the download. I think it was 21 cents, something like that, and downloaded this helpful document. So here in the comments you can see the helpful links. There's one for a type of health insurance that is going to be eligible for the visa, and then there's a link to download the PDF that they have created of this whole process. And this is what it looks like when you go to download it. And this is what the actual PDF looks like, and you can see that this person has done a fantastic job breaking it down into steps and organizing the information that is required. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, this is not what I needed for my Houston application. And it turns out that really each consulate and embassy has their own rules, and you really need to reach out to them first before you do anything else. But more about that later, because that isn't what I did. I followed this lovely PDF, and it breaks it down. Check the requirements that you need, check the documents that you need, how to apply for a COE if you are in Japan, which I am not, where to submit, etc., etc. And then the second page, it has a very handy checklist that links through to all of the relevant official websites so that you can check the requirements and check off that you meet them, and you can look at all the documents that you need to fill out and one by one fill them out, which is basically what I started doing in probably about February of this year, 2025. Now, one really pertinent thing here on this person's list, under the proof of income, they have specified bank statements. And this was the beginning of my downfall, because I took their word for it. Being someone who has an LLC single member, I don't have any of those other things, contracts or official tax documents, and we hadn't done my tax return yet for the year, and so I relied solely on printing out bank accounts and highlighting the amounts of money that were owner's draw. This turned out to be a huge problem when I actually presented at the embassy. So my original plan was to apply at the New York Embassy because I was moving out of my apartment at the end of April, and then I was going to spend the whole of May in New York and then fly from New York. But foolishly, I didn't notice that you actually have to book an appointment at the New York Embassy. And when I came to look at the information for the following morning when I was planning to go there, there were no appointments available for multiple weeks, and I was leaving New York in 48 hours. So you can see here they're very specific with information on the website where you need to live to be able to apply at the New York Embassy. Processing time, which here does highlight that it could take 1 to 2 months. It doesn't on the Houston website, which sadly is an oversight. And then it tells you where to go and how to apply in person. And it highlights that you do need to make an appointment, which with my brain damaged brain, I failed to read. You can, of course, apply online, but that would take even longer. So here we go, just to give you an idea. I'm recording this today, which is the 30th of June. And if we go to their online scheduler to book an appointment, the soonest available appointment, let's see. July 17, so more than 2 weeks out, which I think is the same as what I saw back in end of March. And much to my dismay, oh my goodness, I don't have an appointment. What am I going to do? I guess we'll have to look at the Houston consulate instead. So here we are looking at the Houston consulate, and their website also has some quite clear instructions. Looking for visa applications. There we go. And then this is your tourist visa that you have to do, like an e-application thing now. Coming down to regular visas. Okay, click here to find information about which type of visa is appropriate for your needs. It does, however, also apply that you can only apply 3 months before you enter Japan. I think we see that again on another page. So obviously I know that it's the Digital Nomad Visa, so we go straight down to the Digital Nomad Visa. And again, for some reason, I maybe saw this with my brain damage, but just thought, oh no, I know better, I've already done all my research. It says to inquire the required documents for your visa, please email us. Here is the address, and then these are the things that you need to include in your email. Now, if I had done that, I would have gotten a lovely PDF ahead of time with all kinds of other documents that I didn't know about and that I didn't have with me the first time I showed up at the embassy. So then if we click how to apply, it tells you that the visa application drop-off is only in the mornings, and that you don't need an appointment, thank goodness. So I showed up on a Friday morning as close to 9:30 as I could get. It was already full in the waiting room, but I didn't wait a terribly long time, maybe 30, 45 minutes. So this is the parking lot across the street where you can park, and this is the building 909 Fannin. Not super easy to figure out which is the right building. And then you go up to the 30th floor in a very fancy elevator. And I actually went to the consulate 3 times. The first time I was told that the bank statements were good enough, and also something about my passport, because I've got 2 passports. Why did I only bring 1? I should have brought 2. So this is what the consulate looks like, and obviously there's no filming, so I just snapped a quick pic in the hallway, but it's basically just one big room, and you get called up to the window when it's your turn, which means that everybody can hear you. And they can also hear the nasty things the man is saying that are hugely humiliatory. Now, I had Googled the address several times, and I had seen these Google reviews, and I just dismissed them, which was more for me. They were 100% accurate, as I discovered the first time I went to the consulate. The man who does the visas is just incredibly mean and very un-Japanese. Do please pause to read them if you're applying at the Houston consulate. I was basically in tears the first time I went there. And here is the UPS store, which is just across the block, that was very helpful with my color copies, which I will explain to you momentarily. So this is the point at which I was hoping to show you the actual PDF that the gentleman at the visa window gave me with the instructions on what they specifically need at the Houston consulate to submit for the Digital Nomad Visa. Unfortunately, I foolishly had just a paper copy of that PDF, which went into storage, and then I was trying desperately the last few days to procure a new electronic copy of it, and my attempts have not been successful. Obviously, I don't want to jeopardize my future attempts to reapply for this visa in future. So here I am instead, between patients, talking to camera to explain it to you. What I will do when I hopefully finally get a copy of that PDF is attach it in the comments below, if I can do that, or figure out some other way to share it with you. And the joys of having brain damage from my chronic illness is that I couldn't also recreate the list off the top of my head, because I would miss probably 90% of what's on there. But from what I remember, there was some key things. So I believe it did highlight that you needed a tax return. And it also highlighted that you needed color copies of your passport. And nowhere in any of the information that I have shown you so far that I had discovered in my research did color copies of the passport be featured. So the visa clerk refused to take my application on that first attempt, or rather stated, you can apply if you want, and they will probably deny your application, and then you won't be able to reapply for 6 months. And I had already booked my ticket and had plans in Japan, and so I decided that that was not a sensible thing to do. So I went away and got color copies of my passport, and thankfully was able to press my accountant to file my tax return so that we could get copies of that. I think I also had her print out a report of my owner's draw for the year, because he was really not happy about the bank statements and made several comments about what these could mean anything, what do these prove. So I got that accountant certified sort of copy of my owner's draw for the year. And then I came back to resubmit again. Now, you will remember that I had highlighted on the Houston consulate website that the times that they can receive visa applications were from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. Now, what I didn't point out, because I can't film inside the consulate, is that there's a piece of paper stuck on the visa window that actually says 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. and 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. And so I took that to mean that you could come back in the afternoon to submit a visa application. I work Monday through Friday. The following Friday morning, I believe, I had a doctor's appointment that I had waited a long time for and I couldn't change. And by the time I got down there, it was after 1:30. And the helpful security guard did let me into the consulate, but the visa guy said that he could not accept my passport application, and he was quite angry again that I had showed up. So once again, do make sure that you read the instructions carefully. When I read those instructions in English, to me it says that you can come at that time, but obviously I don't understand English sufficiently well. And he did me the solid of reviewing the packet again, although voiced repeatedly that I was taking time away from other people's applications and that I was an awful person for doing that. And it was important, however, because he pointed out that my color copies were not good enough. That the color copies of the passport needed to be an exact certain way, and I hadn't managed to achieve that. And so he sent me back out down the street to the UPS store, which thankfully is just across the block. And when I got in there, the lovely staff were very familiar with the Japanese consulate and knew exactly how the copies had to be, and created copies for me that were acceptable. So then I had to go back the following Monday morning. I forget what I had to change in my schedule in order to be able to make it there Monday morning. And finally, he was happy to accept the application, including my tax return and the color copies. And I brought both of my passports with me. And in the end, I actually elected to give him my British passport, because then I was left with my goodness, now I have a Japanese passport. Left with my American one in case I needed to travel internally, because this was right at the time when suddenly you needed a driver's license with a special star on it, and I had not got my new driver's license in Texas yet. It was all a fun, perfect storm moment. Anywho, I hope this has sufficiently highlighted how finicky each receiving consulate or embassy can be for this visa. I know when I went on Reddit to look at initially how people were submitting, when it first came out, there were many reports of people going to embassies and being told they didn't even know about the visa and they couldn't even take applications at all. Seems that that has changed, and now each consulate or embassy has their own very specific rules, and you need to reach out in advance and find out what those are, and to issue a very clear disclaimer that even if I do get a hold of this PDF and put it on this video, obviously that could change at any time, and so even if you're applying at the Houston consulate, you would do well to just reach out to them directly, as per what I highlighted on the website, and get the instructions. The other pertinent thing to say is that I submitted finally, I believe it was Monday, April 7th, and I received notification that the visa was ready for me to collect the Friday. I think it was a week before I was due to fly. Let me find that date for you. So yes, I submitted April 7th, Monday, and I received notification by email that it was ready to collect Friday, May 24th. So that is just one business day shy of 7 weeks. When I finally was able to submit the application, he did point out that it wouldn't be the 5 to 7 days that had been listed on the website, because I didn't have a COE, which, if you remember, we cannot apply for in America. And again, when I went on Reddit, I saw many data points of people being told it would take about 2 months, and then having the experience of it being about 2 months, and 7 weeks is about 2 months. So please be forewarned, you cannot apply more than 3 months before you are due to depart. Obviously, we are all buying our tickets in advance, because you cannot buy a ticket last minute that is affordable. And if you're buying a points and miles ticket like I did, you're buying it 355 days out. So I was very anxious that it wouldn't come in time. At one point I did have a backup ticket for the following week just to buy me some extra time. By some miracle it did come through, and I was then able to fly on June 3rd. So I got the visa May 24, and then I flew on June 3rd. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you, especially those of us with chronic illness. I think if you can safely get to Japan, and obviously my video last week showed ways to do that with points and miles that make it much more comfortable. This is a great place if you are able to work remotely. That provides a lot of the things that we need as people with chronic illness in terms of supports and safety, and certainly in terms of virus safety. It is a great place to be working from, and hopefully this video explains a way in which you can apply for that DNV visa without causing yourself undue stress like I did, and hopefully it becomes a little bit easier. certainly my intention while being here, I have a lot of friends in Japan. I am very much enjoying spending time with them, and living in Houston as I do, which gets very hot in the summer months, June, July, August. I certainly will consider in maybe 2026, no, not next year, 27 or 28, maybe doing this again and coming back for another few months again. And hopefully the process is more straightforward if I am reaching out to the consulate directly and asking for their instructions. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a tolerable week. Take care.